Okay, let's see if I can talk this out for you. So, not having any problem with the head that I'm noticing. I'm having a little problem with my blade, but just ignore that. So, also ignore I do my connection strokes in a different order than you guys because I learned them in Fee Brows instead of Beauty Angels. But now we have them. Okay. So far, so good. You don't have any problems up to this point. So let's draw in the connection line to 0.6. Now, one of the things that you're doing wrong is making the bottom strokes a little bit fishbony. So do this trick. I show this somewhere in the videos. Do this little dotted line there. And keep your, this part skinny. And then you're coming up and just merging with the connection line. So you have some that where you're doing kind of a this type of deal. All right, we don't want it big. If Claire says it looks like a fishbone, that's what she means. So we want these guys down here to be skinny, and they're flattening, but they're not decreasing in their length. That's why I like using that dotted line. Now I'm almost at the end of the dotted line, also at the end of my ink. But you can still get a couple more in there and at least this flat line. Now leave it open. Now for your upper strokes, I'm going to recommend that you do this. That you come out of here and you do a little dotted line and have it kind of angling down like this. And I want you to keep your eye on 0.3. So we're doing our first upper stroke, and it's just going to come over and barely, not even, I mean, it's just going to go over the dotted line by a little tiny bit. If necessary, don't even have it going over the dotted line. You're doing two loop-de-loop, so you're making them more rounded into like bubble shapes. If you have this dotted line here, it kind of forces you, I mean, that's as far as you can go. You can go a little bit past it, but not much. Now, as you approach the arch, at this point, you must aim toward 0.3. No longer can you be, like, see, these, if we carried them out, they would intersect the bottom of the brow, which is what yours would look like if you carried them out. But by the time you get to the arch, you don't want, everything has to be pointing to 0.3. Now, let's go and get our nano strokes in. And I'm just, you kind of have to be sure that you're following the right connection line at this point, that you're not following that upper dotted line. That can kind of throw you off. But I think that you might need something like that because of the bubbly effect. And I'm going to stop right there. I'm not going to take it on. I could close this up, but remember what I said, I don't want to close. Now I'm up here doing the nano strokes on the upper strokes. Not really nano strokes since I'm not changing my blade, and each one of these is progressively longer. But if you compare these with what you're doing, they're much flatter. You're doing more bubbles. I don't know any other way to put it. That's not very flattering, I'm sorry. And here I'm being super careful because I know that there might be an opportunity coming up here for me to, like right here, intersect with that. Don't push your luck. Stop right there. And then we still have this one to do. These strokes are nice and long now, and they're really reaching toward point 3. And if you notice with these, okay, watch really slowly. I'm bringing this one down, and do you see how it becomes like the first stroke of that second bit? Here's like the second stroke of this one, the third stroke of this one, and that third stroke becomes the first stroke of this one. I don't know if it makes any sense, especially since it's blurred. Okay, now I'm looking up here, and sometimes it's good just to wipe it so you see what you got. And I definitely am able to carry this one down. But do you see how if we had continued and closed this off, that it would be like just boom, a line right there? And if anything, I can draw this one in. Well, I didn't do a very good job of it, but I could have connected that one. Whereas what you're doing, I'm just going to, sorry for the wiggling there, I'm just going to start after the head and after the, so I'm just going to put in, sorry for that, I keep hitting the camera with my face or something. I'm just going to put in the connection line here. So what you're kind of doing is you're making these kind of bigger, what Claire would call wishbone strokes. And I wasn't paying attention to the extent to which you were, you know, flattening them out. Whatever you do, whether they're wishbone or skinny, they need to be flattening out. That's why I use that one horizontal line. That's all in that video I have on YouTube called something like Lesson 8, Code Cracked. So you'd get to like here, and then you would do this flat line. Okay, so then what you're doing up here that is not working out is you're making kind of like this, these bubbles. And I can't remember what you're doing here, so I won't presume. So then what's going on is you're getting, and what I want you to think about is what would happen if you carried this on to its logical conclusion is that it would bisect the butt base, and we don't want to be doing that. Whereas here, if you carried this one on to its logical conclusion, it would be reaching toward point 3. So you're always reaching toward point 3. So these more bubbly upper strokes aren't doing what we need them to do. And so the way to control that, and so watch that video in YouTube where I call it something like Lesson 8 Code Cracked or something like that. So it has to do with getting that initial connection. And actually, I don't even know if I say this in the video, but I like the connection line to be kind of high. As it comes down to 0.6, and then you put in this horizontal line right here, and then think skinny. So skinny. If I could just have some pigment there, skinny. Skinny. Meanwhile, up at the top, when you get to the upper strokes, do this dashed line, and that's as far as you get to go. So that's it. That's it. I mean, this is for the first one. And, you know, you make them a little bit, this dotted line a little bit angling down so that by the time you get here close to the arch, you are able now to, and where am I going? I am going, if I were to carry this through, it would be going all the way down to 0.3. And then you do this in 1, 2, 3, like that. And so when you're filling in up here, they are basically flat, but the strokes are also getting longer. And then as you're coming down like with here, whatever has happened here, let's say you've done this, and then you've got one unconnected at all. It's just hanging there in the air, and then you've got this flat one. So when you're bringing this one down and you're adding the strokes, if there's an opportunity, grab it. If there's not an opportunity, don't force it. Like there was an opportunity. I'm not going to force this one. I always leave that one till the very end. And then, you know, you do the rest of them, filling them in, blah, 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 blah. If you look at advanced work, the tails are really on the messy side. They're not all they're not that messy. I'm just trying to get it done so that I can show you that, okay, now I can carry this one out. But let me see here. Yeah, I don't know. This is, I don't even know what, if anything, I mean, I don't know what I was working on here. But you see how these, as you get more advanced, these things become straighter. And they don't have any of that curve at all, that bubble. So right now, you're trying to kind of get into that mindset. Not this thing, the bubbles, but more flat. So I hope that makes sense. I'll start uploading this, and then I'll send you the link.